This past forum's panels were packed with insights from some of multifamily's brightest leaders who have started moving to the new operating model in order to create a better customer and team experience. In this podcast, you'll hear highlights from Noah Echols, VP of Customer Experience with the RMR Group, Susan Goff, VP of Property Marketing with Lantower Residential, Brandon Gaeta, Director of Operations with Morgan Properties, and Laurel, VP of Marketing and Customer Engagement with Security Properties, about how this new operating model influences how they think about customer experience. If you want a chance to learn directly from the leaders shaping the future of multifamily, join our registration waitlist in the show notes below.
Please join me in welcoming our fourth and final panel. Crack the code, boost renter sentiment, and drive retention.
No. Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah Graham. Welcome back from lunch. I promise, if you're a little bit of a food coma, this group is going to perk you right up.
I'll start. I'm Laurel Zacher. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Customer Engagement. I'm with Security Properties and Security Properties Residential. We're based out of Seattle. And although our footprint is national, we really are very Western states focused. And we have a mix. I joke, say we basically, we do everything except for military and student. You know, customer experience, that's more proactive, right? You're thinking about the customer journey every step of the way, all of their interactions with us. You're anticipating what is going to happen at each point. You're understanding what they want and what they value. Whereas customer service is reactive. It's addressing an issue that has come up. Again, it could be helping somebody out and delighting them. Looking at our strategy for continuing to expand the customer experience and trying to be more proactive, we added AI into the leasing process. Our reason for doing that, it goes back to something fundamental that we talk about all the time, is meeting the renter where they're at, so that we are there when they're ready to connect with us, no matter how they want to do it, no matter where they want to do it, no matter what time they want to do it. We also want to make it easy, right? We want to remove some of that friction. There were discussions about, is this the right thing to do? Is AI going to be nearly as interesting and intriguing as our site teams? Because they know the property and they're great and they're wonderful people. They're all of that, but they're also not great at responding. And they are not working 24 hours a day. Two things that the AI does and is happy to do. So we launched last year and also did some back-end integrations. And then we did a 7-month pilot, and I reported back on some of the results from the first 7 months. It was better than I thought it was going to be. And what we found was that with AI in place, if we looked at both those communities that had VLA versus the ones that don't have VLA, because we're also on funnel for our full conventional stack, they were just doing better across the board. They were converting more leads into tours, more tours into leases. Therefore, their overall conversion was higher. I want to say it was about a 50% lift in incoming leads to tours that were getting set up at the top of funnel. One of the things we learned from it is that that's what the AI does best. But its role, and this is important for us, its role is making sure that it's driving people to tour. It's not going to be there on site and touring. So we also had to teach some of the people, as we're looking at the data, to think about it differently. Really look top of funnel, and then it's our responsibility to make sure we're giving our teams the best sales skills possible so they can convert all of those leads that are coming in, those tours, into actual leases. We also found that even if it was at some communities, sending fewer tours through, they were much higher quality and they were much more likely to lease. I took that as a big win as well, because our site teams aren't having to deal with answering questions from all of these leads that are not going to turn into anything. So in some communities it sent fewer, but it sent much higher quality. The kicker for all of this, these sites had, again, greater conversions, but higher volume year over year of both tours that were being set up, greater conversion rates to leases overall, higher volume, but they did it with 6% fewer leads than they had the year before. See, I had a whole different answer for this, and then over the last 24 hours, my mind has been changed because of all the panels and all the conversations that I've had. So I'm going to change it, and totally, this isn't what we talked about. My answer is think about AI versus centralization, but think about both. Think about how do you do, does it have to be either or? I don't think so. And I think it's going to evolve over time. But wherever you start, wherever the comfort is, don't stress about which one to start with. Start with either or, because eventually we're probably going to do both anyway. Just start.
Hi, I'm Susan Goff. I'm with Lantower Residential, and we have 7,900-ish units. We have several in development right now, but we are mainly located in the Sun Belt region, and we are on Entrada. We use AI as a supplement to our abilities, our skills, so that we can get in front of our customers faster. So I do want to touch on something that Noah said on these moments or the actions that happen that would encourage leases and ultimately renewals. We're doing something kind of similar. All of our centralized associates have a quarterly performance, and this is how they bonus and can make that extra. And it's in support of all the company's goals. So we have clearly defined vision and strategy, and that's one of the things that we deliver to our associates, our promise to them. And then we sample guest cards. We call it a 3-a-day. It's like a vitamin. And there's a handful of associates that do that. And we're looking for touch points or the way that's being communicated to our prospective resident to say, is this really driving someone to stay or not? We're also evaluating, those touch points with automation and how well are we customizing those things. Pre-funnel, 2023, we had 3.93. That was our average ratings, which is not good yet, because 4 is good, and then 5 is great, out of 557 reviews. And in that same time frame, for this year, we had an average of 4.11 stars out of 694 reviews. So the volume of reviews increased by 25%, and then our ratings increased by 5%. So that's pretty incredible to me. And a lot of that, again, has to do with that first stat that we showed you, which is we're responding 20% faster than we were prior to having that VLA and that contact center in place. I scrubbed through all of that data to find how many times was something mentioned about people in a positive mention or sentiment online. And so between people, staff, team, all those words combined, we had 530 positive mentions that went into these reviews, and that is up 287 over the same time last year. Same thing with communication. So, parking, all of those things we rolled into communication. We had 123 positive mentions. That's up 108 over the same time last year. So I'm telling you all this because that bottom number, that experience, those are things where they're really using that word experience and service. That went up over 113. What we've noticed through this data is we are seeing that correlation between our responsiveness, in which we know that. And you said earlier, I don't really like to respond that much on site and phone calls. So we've been able to correlate how we're leveraging the AI and those automations, and we're looking at it constantly. And something I like to say, or I said at the end of last year, is we just as a group at multifamily, and Tyler said it perfectly, I think we've made it really easy for people to move out and very hard for them to rent with us. And we have to swap that. I want it easy to live here, the least amount of touch points and follow-up or actual user clicks to get to us. We need to meet them where they are.
I'm Brandon Gaeta. I'm the Director of Operations for Morgan Properties. We have about 93,000 units based out of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Primarily, our properties are conventional, but we have a little student, some affordable components in there, and we are a Yardie shop. So I think what's really important to understand is what our strategy has been to date. So I feel like we've been going down the leasing centralization road for a while, for 3 years. So if you're just getting started, you got a journey. But we specifically didn't start to really explore AI or automation too much in the beginning, and Funnel pushed us on it a lot, as we engaged with them. But, interesting point I think you made about the importance of people in our sales process and what your perspective was on that. So knowing that we weren't specifically looking at automation as much, at AI as much, we were really people focused. So what we tried to do is to design a collaboration between what we've defined as our regional sales team, our remote sales workers, and the resident services team, or the folks at the property level, because we have not yet centralized the administrative duties. So what we have found is we've created this collaboration and this high level of communication between the two that our sales team goes as far as to not only qualify wants and the needs of the customers, but then they'll actually convey to whomever a touring agent is at the property level what you should show, why you should show it, what to capitalize on about the property that could help get that sale, what to avoid in that conversation. So we found our regional sales team members are really spending a good amount of time developing that relationship and understanding those wants and needs, so that if the customer does not lease, that the handoff that we've designed is not at tour. If the customer doesn't lease, that actually goes back to our regional sales team, and then they will take them, cross-sell them if necessary. We attribute it to is just this relationship that they've built and this want to make sure that we are not just turning that lead loose, really taking more of like a realtor approach, if you will, from a regional sales standpoint, and making sure we benefit from density in a lot of our markets, so we have the ability to do that.
I am Noah Echols, Vice President of Customer Experience for RMR Group, based out of Atlanta. We were recently acquired, previously Carroll Management Group. Prior to that, we've got about 28,000 units across the Sun Belt, primarily value-add shop, conventional real estate. Oh, yardie shop. A light bulb moment for me was this belief that we have in the industry that the relationship between the leasing consultant and the resident being vitally important, I think is really wrong. Because if you think about it from a renter standpoint, they're trying to rent a home, right? They're going to raise families, or they're going to, have roommates and whatever they're going to do in that home, right? That's their goal. Their goal isn't to befriend the leasing consultant sitting in the office. And we run renter preferences surveys every year, and what kept coming up time and time again, between the lines or very clearly stated, was that renters value their time more than anything else. And so if we can build processes that give them their time back, remove friction, make it easy for them to help themselves in whatever way, we win, right? And so removing that idea that the human is important, and they do play a role in managing complex pieces of the process is important for a highly skilled salesperson to do. However, that relationship is not as important, I think, as we want to make it in multifamily. And coming to that realization and sort of understanding it and then convincing the rest of the company to believe that as well has been really eye-opening for us, and is sort of dictating how we prioritize customer experience projects going forward. It's all about giving back time to the customer. But a lot of organizations in our industry don't compile that data and then disseminate that data throughout the organization in order to align the company around that customer and their needs, which is the second step, and usually where a lot of companies stop, is realigning the organization around the customer rather than around the business strategy or the business goal. Sort of flipping that on its head and saying, yes, we want to hit these metrics, and we've got to increase NOI and hit all these things that we've set out to do, because we are at our core asset managers and investors. But in order to get there, if we can meet the expectation of the customer in a frictionless way, in a way that delights the customer, we're going to meet all these business metrics in the end. So sort of reframing and putting those needs at the center. You can't do that without first designating a person who's going to own that data and disseminate that data and sort of tell the story and be the advocate for our customer. Yeah, I think one of the most interesting outcomes when we started this centralization journey, we set out to do it because we wanted to increase our lead to visit ratio, right? So you build this contact center, specialized role, all they're doing is scheduling tours, right? That's what they're incentivized to do. We saw an immediate uptick in lead to visit, right? The downstream impact was what was really surprising to me. Our visit to app increased pretty significantly. Our retention increased. And I think that's attributable to two things. One, by centralizing this team at the top of the funnel, which is where we started, and we've since centralized other teams as well. But we started taking sort of mundane administrative type tasks off the plate of salespeople, right? And when you remove those tasks, they can focus then on other things, such as delivering quality experiences to our residents that delight them, and so they want to stay there, and thus an increase in retention. So I think that's one. The other thing is it's very normal in our industry to bonus a leasing consultant when they get a lease, right? And then you give them a little bit smaller bonus on a renewal. And so if I'm a leasing person and I'm looking at my paycheck, those are the things I'm going to do mostly, right? I'm going to focus on getting that lease and If I get a renewal, that's great, but if I don't and they move out, that's another unit I can sell. So I kind of want that to happen, right? What we did is we shifted our incentives from those lagging metrics, go get a lease and then you get a bonus, to leading metrics. So all the little things that we want them to do along the way that hopefully results in that lease or in that renewal, we sat down and we said, if a leasing consultant's job is to sell, and then this team over here, their job is to deliver service, what are the 10 things that are important for each one of those roles that we want them to do? And then we backed out of that and we said, if they hit these KPIs along those 10 things, they'll earn their bonus at the end of the month. So shifting that away from those lagging metrics to leading metrics, I think had a huge impact on the business. The single best thing you can do today or as soon as you get back to the office is, if you don't already have it, figure out how to collect data around your customer. What do they care about? How can you continuously collect and analyze that data? Because that's going to point you in the direction you need to go. And it's going to tell you when you fail. It's going to tell you what tools you need to implement. So form the data plan first. It will be your guide.